things are changing dramatically, folks, in our public schools. Well, the second half of the show, we're going to talk about some of the radical changes with regard to sex education and sexuality and transgenderism that you may not be aware of, and what you specifically need to know and what you can do about it to help protect your family, your children, and your grandchildren. But the first half of the show, I want to talk about what has happened in 2018 with regards to cases that we at Pacific Justice have been engaged in. And we take on many, many cases. We help hundreds and hundreds literally every year without charge get the help that they need. And in fact, we have a matching gift program for those of you who want to participate to help us take on even more cases next year. Just go to our website, pacificjustice.org, pacificjustice.org. It's a one-to-one matching gift program up to our targeted goal. So we'll match up to one-to-one for every dollar you give. Then it'll be matched $1 from a grant funding that has come in from individuals up to our targeted goal. So just go to our website, pacificjustice.org, pacificjustice.org. But we have so many resources and we have so many things going on. We're going to try to go through it really quickly in the first segment. And to help us do that, I'd like to welcome onto the program our attorney from our Sacramento office, Matt McReynolds. Matt, thank you for being on the program.
Thanks, Brad.
Okay, now, Matt, what are the top 5 case victories we've had this last year that Pacific Justice Institute has taken on to defend for the people of this country and the freedoms and liberties of the people of this country? Let's go through those. And there's so much we could talk about. Let's just talk about just the top 5.
Sure, Brad. Well, top of the list would have to be our double win at the United States Supreme Court on behalf of not only pro-life pregnancy clinics, which we represented, but also on behalf of professionals. I mean, Brad, it's hard to overstate the importance of this win, not only for speech, but also for professionals. Anybody listening to us who is in a profession, from doctors to lawyers to accountants to just a host of others, millions of Americans are going to be benefited by this win at the U.S. Supreme Court, expanding professional speech and opening up a whole new realm of litigation and possibilities for us.
Now, I think this is real important. So, in the past, we've had case law say that, if you have a profession, you have a license, well, then the government can come in and dictate to you and control what you say. But the Supreme Court said, no. Professional speech has the same protection as other speech under the First Amendment's free speech clause. This is a huge win, far beyond what I expected to be coming out of that case, which the case was, dealing with defending pro-life pregnancy clinics and challenging a state law in California, which ordered them to have a large sign advertising where women get a free abortion. Well, this was even a much bigger case beyond that win because it deals with professional speech. We at Pacific Justice are here to build on this. And if you're out there anywhere in the country, you have a professional issue, a regulation be put on you as a lawyer, a doctor, a psychologist, a counselor, a licensed beautician, a real estate agent, whatever it is, don't hesitate to contact us if that's violating your faith or keeping you from sharing your faith in some way that really matters to you. Okay, what's the next on the top of the list?
Brad, I'd have to say next, the whole category of wins we racked up this year on behalf of evangelists. This is not just one win, Brad. By the end of the year, we will have had between 10 and 12 court wins on behalf of evangelists who were criminally charged for sharing their faith in public. And this has just been tremendous. In so many different states, Brad. We're
right.
talking about Texas, California, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Washington, Oregon. And we've got cases pending in a lot of those states right now as well. This has just been just a huge leap forward for PJI in defending these types of cases.
Yeah, I know. I personally took on the one in San Antonio, Texas, and we got that case dismissed the morning of the trial, literally. I was sitting there with our client, and the case was dismissed just before we were about to begin the criminal defense process. And to keep this man who's sharing Jesus from being put behind bars for up to a year behind bars for sharing the gospel. And this is the United States of America, folks. And these cases, Matt, are exploding across the country. For some reason, I think there's a spiritual dimension to it, obviously, but it's become much more dangerous to openly preach the gospel here in the United States without being criminally prosecuted. By God's grace, so far, we have a complete win record. We have yet to lose a single one of these cases, and by God's grace, we'll hopefully continue to do so. What's the next one on the top of the list that we've accomplished here at Pacific Justice by God's grace?
Well, Brad, third, I'd have to say right at the top of the list is what just happened for us in the state of Wisconsin, where we got this terrific win on behalf of 5 churches and a radio station battling an anti-discrimination ordinance. The city there wanted to impose its values on churches, for church events, for church staff. We fought that throughout the year, and we just walked away with a huge win in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's a huge win because we challenged an ordinance that was telling churches that they can't carry out their faith when it comes to hiring and firing, when it comes to people's engaging in sexual relationships that are in violation of their biblical worldview and the like. So this was really important because we're talking about keeping the government from invading our churches and telling them what they can do and forcing them to violate their faith. So I think that's a very big win. I know Kevin Snyder, our chief counsel, personally took that on and argued that case. What's another case?
Brad, fourth, I'd have to say our win on behalf of the senior citizens down in Bakersfield, California. We were able to go to court to achieve just a terrific settlement for them. As you know, their Bible studies had been shut down for a time. They'd been stopped from meeting. PJI got involved. We were able to get those restored, not only temporarily at first, but then permanently through this settlement that we were able to achieve on their behalf. And it was groundbreaking, Brad. It was recognized by leaders in the field of HOA law as a new dimension to those kinds of freedoms, and it was just tremendous. Terrific clients, wonderful people, great to see them able to continue doing what they do best, serving their community.
Yeah, it's going to be very helpful to us moving forward to help others in other retirement communities or where they have homeowner associations that may in some way inhibit and limit them from being able to worship or have Bible studies and the like. So I think that was a fantastic victory. What's the fifth of that list of our top cases we took on?
Last one I mentioned, Brad, is the tax case that we were able to win on behalf of the church in the San Francisco Bay Area. This was just really important, and it's led to a lot of other churches reaching out to us now, Brad, with similar circumstances where taxes are being imposed on them. Churches should be and are constitutionally protected from property taxes, but cities are trying to find ways around that through special assessments and other things. We were able to take that on, challenge it in court, and get a big win.
Yeah, our attorney Ray Hackey did a great job arguing that case. It was a very important case because if we hadn't prevailed, then other cities outside the San Francisco Bay Area and inside across the country, I could see them easily saying, hey, this is a way of making money, and this is how we're going to start taxing churches, and here's how we can get around it. So this was very important, I believe in the long run, probably saving churches and ministries potentially billions and billions of dollars in tax-type fees and assessments. So that's a very important case. Praise God for that one. Now, we've also engaged in a lot of cases. What are some victories that we've done outside the court, Matt, that they didn't go to court but are nonetheless very significant? Real quickly, what are a few of those?
Well, Brad, legislatively, this was just amazing. But here in California, we're taking on some of the most hostile territory anywhere in terms of the legislature.
Right.
We're not afraid of that. We go to the legislature. We were part of some coalitions this year, Brad, that got huge wins in defeating anti-homeschooling bills, defeating more attacks on Christian counseling, as well as the incursion of the abortion industry onto public college campuses. And so some of those were surprise wins. We put a lot of energy into those, and we really racked up some impressive wins that resounded around the country in the legislature.
Yeah, they were very impressive, partly because we were outnumbered as far as who's sitting in the legislature in California, and yet these were incredible victories to get these pushed back. And I love what our Sacramento office does, and we're actively engaged and wanting to be engaged in state capitals across the country. We have an office there in Seattle, Washington. We have one in Salem, Oregon. And one of the things we do is we are there to advise and to also to testify, dealing with issues that violate fundamental civil liberties like religious freedom, parents' rights, free speech, etc. Finally, we have some great empowerment resources. Matt, quickly tell us some of those resources we have available right now without charge on our website to people listening to this broadcast.
Absolutely, Brad. For a long, long time, we've had just a number of opt-out resources. We've had students' rights booklets. We've had your landmark book, Reclaim Your School. And this year, Brad, we really ramped up the number of different kinds of resources, from Q&A on public evangelism to questions and answers on college students' rights to questions about parents' rights under the sex ed laws, and just many, many more that people can find on our website. There are dozens of resources on our website, so we strongly encourage people to make sure they know what's there so they can be fully informed and equipped.
Yes, one of my favorite is the article which is 12 Steps on Preventing Your Children from Being Taken from Child Protective Services by Social Workers. Very, very helpful. Every parent should take a look at that without question. And so it's all there. It's all without charge. Go to our website, folks. It's pacificjustice.org, pacificjustice.org. And while you're there, please prayerfully considering becoming a supporter of Pacific Justice on either a one-time or monthly basis. And if you do, it'll be matched this time of year, dollar for dollar, up to our targeted goal. So once again, go to our website, pacificjustice.org. Take advantage of these resources. Keep us in prayer. We never forget that it is by God's grace working through his body that we have seen so many incredible victories this last year. Our cases, folks, have more than doubled in just 1 year alone. And we're also very grateful to the many of there out there listening to this broadcast right now who choose not to sit on the sidelines, but choose to get involved. Matt, thank you for being on the program, and keep up the great work.
Thanks, Brad.
My name is Eric Thompson. I'm a father of 8. We live in Hemet, California. It's real nice out here, nice and quiet, not much going on. I like to play guitar and bake bread in my free time. My experience at Moreno Valley College was largely positive. I was hired in 2005, and I really had a great time as a professor there teaching sociology. I like sociology because it's the study of human beings and human behavior and the study of society itself, its changes. The administration had, previous to this, had a problem with my showing a film called Understanding Same-Sex Attraction. This video gives the testimony of 4 or 5 men who they got therapy, and they were actually able to see themselves attracted to someone of the opposite sex. I presented both sides of the issue. Is it biological? Is it social? The nature-nurture debate. After the 2014 investigation, there was another investigation in 2015. The Supreme Court was deliberating on the very important Obergefell decision regarding same-sex marriage. In class in 2015, we had a great discussion about this subject. And it largely went well, except for a student of mine, an older student of mine, who objected and eventually left the room. She went to the president of the college, went to several faculty and complained. She thought all along, by even discussing Obergefell, we were treading on thin ice in her mind, and she became very offended at our even discussing the topic. And I take a neutral stand when it comes to these sensitive issues, because when we're trying to tease out in their minds what they really believe, it's not good. It's not helpful for me to jump in and say, well, this is what I believe. I was investigated a 3rd time, and that was because of a grade I gave a student. I gave her a D. And she complained that it was because that I thought she was a lesbian, and I didn't even know her identity, her status. Well, I wrote her a letter, emailed her, stating I didn't know she was a lesbian, and wished her well, etc., and asked her if she would reconsider. I also gave a copy to the administration. The administration had me in their office and confiscated my office keys and had me get a few things from my office and escorted me off campus with 2 police officers because they claimed that I had violated an order not to contact the student, which they never gave me. When I got the notice of intent to terminate, I contacted Pacific Justice Institute, Michael Peffer, and he was great. He understood my position, my situation, and he went right to work to help me to sort of get untangled from the mess that the district had put me in. Michael wrote a great closing brief, and he was so effective that we, in October, found out that we had won arbitration, and I was granted my job back. So I'm very grateful to PJI, to Michael Peffer. They're an excellent organization, excellent team, and they really stand for justice.
Professor Eric Thompson was fired for doing his job. He was a master about inspiring discussion in a sociology class about important issues. This professor was unjustly treated by the administration, and that's why we at Pacific Justice Institute stepped in. We were honored to represent such an outstanding professor without charge. If you know of someone in a similar situation, have them contact Pacific Justice Institute. We're here to help. And folks, if you'd like to support the Pacific Justice Institute, either on a one-time or a monthly basis, this is a fantastic time to do it because we have a matching gift program. That is, we at Pacific Justice Institute will see your gift matched dollar for dollar up to our targeted goal. And this is an exciting time. So you can give us now before the end of the year, or you can give it into next year, into the first part of January. Whatever fits you the best. This is an exciting opportunity, and I'd love for you to take advantage of it if you feel called to do so. If you believe in what we do at Pacific Justice Institute, if you want to be a part of what's going on, want to enable us to do what we do, we don't do it just because we want to. We have to have resources to do this. And so many of you have stepped up to do that, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. So pray about it, see what God's called you to do, and if you feel led to do so, take action. Go to our website, pacificjustice.org, pacificjustice.org, pacificjustice.org. Okay, now we have with us here in the studio one of our full-time attorneys on staff. He heads up our Southern California office, and we're really thrilled. He handles lots of cases. He's engaged in many issues that come along. Michael Peffer, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Brad. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Michael, we are dealing with something that is of historic proportions when it comes to education and our children. The polls and studies show that the thinking of children in terms of their morals about sexual issues is changing dramatically. Transgender, students with gender identity dysphoria or experimenting in this area is exploding across the country. We see same-sex relationships not just being tolerated or accepted, but actually even encouraged by public education. And we have laws being passed by states, being pushed by groups like the teachers' unions, zealously putting lots of money in cooperation with radical LGBT groups. Things are really concerning to so many parents, and yet we often don't really know about what makes things so harmful to our children. So I want to ask you, what are the distinctions, say in California, because California's got a lot of problems. What are the distinctions in California's present requirements when it comes to the new sex education curriculum, which is radically different than what we've seen in the past?
That's right. Really, California tends to be the watershed for everywhere else in the country. But there are many other liberal jurisdictions which follow these kinds of California's distinctions.
Like Illinois, New Jersey, to
New York,
name a few. Yeah.
Yeah.
Massachusetts, yeah.
Exactly. So the distinctions are that what they've done is they've divided this educational program, if you will, into two parts. One is pure sex education, kind of how things are done, and sex acts are described and discussed. And in those classes, we've seen the classes oftentimes boil down to really it's just a teaching of homosexuality and the normalcy of a homosexual relationship and homosexual sex, to be specific.
Yeah, and I want to make a little clarification for the audience listening, because many people, particularly from on the left, from the LGBT, they use the word homosexual or homosexuality as a statement of identity. It's who you are. It's how you feel. Yet, from a biblical Christian worldview point, a scriptural perspective, the term is used to discuss actions, decisions people make to actually engage in those feelings in unbiblical ways. So we're talking about sex acts, not about feelings.
That's right.
Because feelings come and go and they change and et cetera, But we're talking about them affirming sex acts that we know, medically speaking, statistically, in terms of impact, in terms of mental, emotional, physically, have repercussions. And yet those repercussions, as I understand it, are not only not being presented, but not allowed to be presented. Is that right?
That's exactly right. Indeed, the laws require accurate descriptions, but we don't even get accuracy in many of these programs. We're getting some things done and said that are very dangerous to students, and so that's the one part. The one part is the sex ed. The second part is the social sciences aspect. So students may incorporate programs like Welcoming Schools, which is a nationwide program that is done under the guise of anti-bullying. But it's only really one kind of bullying, and that is bullying against homosexuals and gender identity dysphoria students, basically the whole gender identity matter.
Right.
So those two things are being incorporated into schools across the country, and in particular California, it's been mandated that those two things happen, those two programs happen in schools.
Now, there's two problems I see with it on its face. First is it deals with bullying, like you mentioned. It doesn't deal with bullying because of people's faith, their religious beliefs, tolerance towards these. But instead, these programs actually steer attitudes about people of faith in a very hostile way, calling them, say, homophobic if they have biblical Christian beliefs against that kind of sexual behavior.
Right.
So it's not protecting those kids or even race or ethnicity, national origin. It focuses overtly on kids who have gender identity dysphoria and those who are openly, willfully flaunting their sexuality, same-sex sexual attraction, and yet the second problem is that they're dealing with it in the wrong way. They're dealing with it in a way not even dealing with just with even tolerance, much less even acceptance, which is crossing the line right there, because it's one thing to say I tolerate something. It's another thing to force someone to morally change their beliefs, to have to accept it. But they actually promote it.
That's right.
Through the counseling programs, et cetera. So I tell you, Michael, I think this is very concerning that it looks real nice. That title, it says, oh yeah, welcoming, students.
Right.
But it's actually indoctrinating and intimidating students with a certain narrow perspective, which goes completely against those who have a Judeo-Christian or biblical worldview.
And that's spot on. Because, see, we are not, PJI, we do not condone bullying of any kind.
Right.
No matter what. We don't condone bullying of people that we even disagree with their behavior.
Right.
That's wrong. But this is not just a bullying. It's under the guise of bullying. This is pushing an agenda that this is how you will think. This is normative behavior across the board. And that's dangerous for our students because we see right now their minds are changing, and the minds are changing in ways that I do not believe are going to be healthy for our society as a whole. Yeah,
I'm really glad you mentioned that because a Christian biblical worldview is one that is against bullying.
That's right.
We are to love everyone fully with grace and taking everyone where they are. God, just as God takes each of us where we are.
That's right.
And we should be speaking up. We shouldn't just simply not bully. people who have the love of Christ in their lives, in particular, they should be the first to speak up against a child who's being bullied because of his gender identity dysphoria or his same-sex attraction or whatever it is, their race, ethnicity, faith, whatever it is. If a child's Jewish and being picked on, a Christian should be the first to step up because the love of Christ compels us to do so.
Indeed.
So I'm really glad you pointed that out. We as followers of Christ should be the first. But at the same token, we also need to be the first to speak up when we see things going in the different direction where kids are being bullied because of their faith or to be intimidated to believe something against their faith.
That's right.
We need to step up. And those students out there, if you're listening to this program right now, perhaps you're in a public school or perhaps you're in a private school. There's a lot of private schools that have gone completely, have a cross in front, and it says Saint something in front of the school. And yet inside that building, they're pushing an ideology and agenda completely divergent from the teachings of Scripture and the teachings of Jesus Christ. So if this is happening, I want you to feel free to contact us at Pacific Justice Institute. Also, let your parents know. And parents, if you know if something is happening, contact us. We at Pacific do not charge for any of our legal work. It is all without charge. And I just want people to know that parents, it takes eternal vigilance. I mean, it really does, Michael, doesn't it?
It really does. And I don't want this to be spoken as if, oh my God, well, we've lost the fight. No, we haven't lost the fight. Yes, we've lost a few battles here with this informational paradise that we have in California that is antithetical to Christianity. But parents can do things. So, for instance, PGI on its website has free of charge, readily available opt-out forms for all across the nation to opt out of the sex education part of this.
Right.
Parents can still do that. They can do that in California, and they can do that across the country, and we have the forms for them to opt out.
Right, and these are without charge. These are without charge. And folks, if you're listening to this and you have a child in a public school anywhere in the United States, take advantage of this. These are opt-out forms you can fill out. Call us if you have any questions. They're very easy. You check the boxes. Yeah. You sign it. You give it to the school. Make a copy for your records, of course, and give it to the school. If they don't accept it, send it certified mail. But we also have some other resources. We also have a Reclaim Your School book.
That's right.
It talks all about how to legally evangelize public schools. This is free download, available right on our website, pacificjustice.org, pacificjustice.org. Just go to the top bar. I believe it's under Resources or Get Help. You'll find all these materials. And go ahead.
And one more thing that's really important regarding eternal vigilance. Parents, you need to go to school board meetings.
Yes.
You need to hold these school boards accountable. And it does work. We've been helping someone here in Southern California, a parent who has just been on the warpath. And God bless her. She's been a real encouragement to me. All parents can do this. They can go to school board meetings and say, no, we don't want this kind of thing. Right. Even the welcoming schools, in some districts, they have been able to convince the school boards to adopt better programs.
Right, and better sex ed programs as well.
Exactly.
We've seen that happen, and we at Pacific Justice have been involved with Orange County Board of Education and other places as well. So absolutely, contact us at Pacific Justice if you need help in this area, but get involved and look at the curriculum. It's your right as a parent to review that curriculum, folks. So take a look at it, review it before school starts, ask what the speakers are going to be. There's so much available on our website. Once again, it's pacificjustice.org, pacificjustice.org. And also, finally, I'd just like to encourage you once again to pray for your children, pray for the kids in our schools, pray for your school board members, and be involved and engaged. And finally, once again, if you'd like to help us at Pacific Justice do our work to help you, go to our website and participate in our matching gift program campaign. It's a window of opportunity that we have right now, and it'll be matched dollar for dollar up to the targeted goal amount. So I really appreciate that if you do that. Just go to, and it can be any amount. So we stretch things really far here at Pacific Justice. It's pacificjustice.org, pacificjustice.org. Michael, thank you for the work that you're doing, and thanks for being on the program.
My pleasure, Brad. Thank you.
So, folks, there you have it. It's our God-given freedoms we're talking about. Now, let's choose to keep them. I'm Brad Dacus of the Pacific Justice Institute. Have a great weekend.